Good afternoon, everyone in social media land. Welcome to another broadcast of the High Net Worth Investors Guide. In the event that you're wondering what is the High Net Worth Investors Guide, the High Net Worth Investor Guide is a unique platform of learning. Now, if you own a business, we see you as a high net worth individual, or you intend to get into business, you need to start seeing yourself as a high net worth individual to be successful in business. The High Net Worth Investor Guide stands on four pillars. You will learn about the law of preparation, the law of application, the law of wealth management, and the law of wealth expansion. Today, with me, I have a team of subject matter experts from across the world. We have persons from the North America, we have persons from the Caribbean who will be sharing their views in terms of issues that are affecting businesses from leapfrogging, and they will also be tabling recommendations that can help rising stars in business to be more successful. But to get to this program started, also, I want to give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves. I will start with Paul White, since he's the guy that is dealing with capital and access to capital. And we know that so many businesses across the world, they struggle to access capital. So I will ask Paul White to introduce himself, tell us a little bit about his portfolio, and then we'll have everyone else on stage introduce themselves. Paul, all to you.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for having me on the Net Worth Investors Guide podcast. I really appreciate it. Patriot Business Finance Consultants, what we provide is financing for many facets of business: equipment financing, commercial and investment property financing, a couple of products maybe the viewers might not have heard of: factoring and purchase order financing. Factoring is accounts receivable financing, get paid now, cash your invoice outright, tomorrow, instead of waiting 30 to 90 days to collect money. That speeds cash flow up for the business. One thing that we're very interested in right now, and on a side note, one connection in business, one connection can open the world up for you. And one connection 3 years ago on LinkedIn opened the world up for me. Industrial hemp fiber. One deal took me down the road, and it put me into position to be a scout for two investment bankers. So long story short, we provide several forms of financing for new or existing businesses, and we can work with the best of credit. We can work with very difficult credit deals and get them approved and get them done. So thank you.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that menu of financial instruments in which you are dealing with. And of course, factoring is one financial instrument that I know has been recently introduced to some areas of the Caribbean. I know in Guyana, we are now talking about that. I believe I recognize recently there are a few individuals who are now offering and factoring finance to the private sector. What I've seen is that in the Caribbean is major different from what happens in the developed world. But as we go deeper into today's program, I'll talk some more about that. All right, I'll come now to Joel Bagwan. Then, Joel, the floor is now yours. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and the various portfolios that you represent?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Gary. Thank you, Felix. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the viewers. My name is Joel Bagwandin. I like to ascribe the title to myself of a financial analyst because I'm actively involved in writing articles, providing insights and analysis on the Guyanese economy context, public policy, financial and economic issues. Been doing that for the past 6 years. Collectively, I've written more than 300 articles, including on the nascent oil and gas industry. I participate in all sorts of public debates, both in different media as well as on various forums. And from time to time, I'm invited to speak in other countries on Guyana and the economy and so on For example, I'm invited to speak in London in 2 weeks from now. My background is in banking and finance. I have about 16 years of experience in the industry, experience working with global professional services firm as well, Ernst& Young, before I started my own company in the advisory space, similar to Paul White, but not in that scale that Paul operates for within the Guyanese context. I provide advisory, financial advisory, and help companies to put together their investment packages, to build their business plans, their business models, financial models, and their investment proposals for the purpose of raising finance. So that's what I do currently. I sit on a few boards. Particularly, I'm a director of the Guyana Oil and Gas Energy Chamber. I'm a commissioner of the Public Procurement Commission in Guyana, and apart from that, I'm an active member of the other private sector associations in Guyana. So I'll stop there for now.
All right, thanks for that introduction, Joel. And I will now come to Peter Scott. I know Peter, he is carrying a very significant portfolio that speaks about the personal life master plan and the importance of this plan to helping the individual to be a more rounded person, more effective in terms of how to function in all aspects of their life. Peter, all to you. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're doing? You're mute, Peter. You need to unmute. Yeah, I'm not hearing you, Peter. All right, Peter, while you sort it out, I'm going to go over to Frank, and then I'm going to come back to you. So see if you can perhaps go out and come back in, do what Jillian would have said, and get the audio. Okay, so I'll now come to Clement Frank. I know he's an economist, but so much more. Clement Frank, can you tell us a little bit about your rich history, what you're doing, and perhaps what you intend to do down the road?
Thank you, Gary, and thanks for having me, and to the rest of the panelists. I'm going to say a pleasant good afternoon to you. My name is Clermont Frank. Clermont is French, Gary. Apart from an economist, I have been a teacher, lecturer for over 35 years.
That age is not showing, my friend.
Presently, I have retired from teaching, but I'm presently work with a Guyana Revenue Authority as one of the investigators in investigative department. Like everyone else, I am very much interested in business because 1 year more with the government of Guyana, I'll be home on retirement again. What happens after retirement is a question you usually ask yourself. And what would you see yourself in the future? I do not intend to be looking for a job at age 60. My intention is basically to be self-sufficient. I always take the term from Gary, having multiple streams of income. And it's been a learning experience for me. There are certain things that I have been putting in place and continue to put in place. And I think it's quite an opportunity to be here with you esteemed fellas so that I can gain some knowledge on the way forward. Once again, I thank you.
All right, thanks for that share, Clement. And I know Clement he has the vision of playing it big in the real estate sector. I wouldn't say much more, but I know he has some major plans. As he goes into retirement, I know he has some big plans. Peter, are you back? All right, we are not getting Peter. Jillian, I don't know if you're able to represent The But would you want to take act on behalf of Peter? No, go right ahead, Jillian. Go right ahead. Since Peter, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the brand that I know you guys are working on at the moment?
Okay. Sorry, I was having a bit of technical issues. So I'm back now. Can you all hear me?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for having me on this wonderful panel. And I must say, it is a pleasure to be here with all you astute individuals. Amen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Um, so I'm just going to briefly give what my husband and I do. So my husband and I, we've been charged with the mandate to, as Proverbs 13:22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So my husband and I, we've been charged with something called Legacy Chronicles. And our mandate is to help people to build a legacy for their posterity. And through this, we help people to write books. By profession, I am a professor. So, on that angle of writing books, I'm the one that assists people in writing their books and so on and so forth.
Awesome.
And in a nutshell, that's basically what we do.
Okay. Just to emphasize that a little bit, I know that Jillian and Peter, they have been very, very instrumental in helping so many persons to write their books and tell their stories.
Mhm.
And myself and Peter, we have collaborated to roll out a signature project that we call the Bestseller Portal. So if you're to go to the bestsellerportal.org, it will give you a chance to see what we are doing with that portal. Of course, the new portals is a lot of work to be done with that portal. But if you go to that now, you will be able to understand some of what Jillian would have said. And they listen to your story, they capture your story, they put it into book form. And as a rising star in business, having a book is your new business card, because having a book is what really helps to sell you as an authority figure in terms of you and your profession. So thanks for that warm introduction, Jillian.
And just
Um,
to add on to what you're saying, Gary, we also, a part of that too is to help individuals to also master their lives. Because as you know, there are some people that, they're clueless as to what it is that they need to do, how to go about it, where to go, when to do it, what to do. So that's just a couple of the things that we help them to do as well. So thank you, Gary. I forgot about the portal. So thank you so much for putting that in.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. And as we go into today's program, we'll be definitely be hearing more from Jillian and Peter in terms of what their brand represent. Now, I will do a short introduction of myself to say leave the best for last. I don't know if I'm the best, but I leave myself for last. Paul is laughing at me. All right. Um, well, I'm an author of many books. One of my last book is Master the Sales Communication Process. Now, one of the reasons I've written that book, Master the Sales Communication Process, myself, my son, and my daughter, we have combined our energy to write this book. It's largely because we recognize that if you're in business and you don't know how to sell, by default, that business will fail. So you either commit the time to learn the best practices around sales and marketing and management, or you ensure that you have the right people on your side that can really help you to put your MV, or your minimum viable offer, your most viable offer, your maximum viable offer in front of your ideal client. The uniqueness about that book is that the book really helps you to understand factors that influences business success. And it is our genuine belief that once you begin to understand factors that influences a business success, and you begin to commit the time, the talent, and the resources to mastering those tools, you become literally unstoppable. As I go into this program, I will examine some of the areas of that book, which we are now teaching under the High Net Worth Investors Guide, to ensure that we give businesses the opportunity to achieve a high level of competitive advantage in terms of what they're doing. But to get a conversation rolling, again, I want to come to Paul, since he is a subject matter expert on finance. We know that many businesses across the world, their perception is that finance is the make and break, is a deal changer, is a game changer. Paul, from your vantage point, I know you provide various type of financial instruments to businesses, but would you say that access to capital is the most important factor that can uplift the success of a business? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's very important, but I don't think it's the most important. The most important is the person behind the business, driving it, pushing it, what it is that they're selling. If you're selling something that nobody needs or a few people want and need, you're going to make less sales. If you're selling things that many people need, obviously you're going to make more sales. The most important thing, in my opinion, is the drive behind the person who's building that business and creating it. Their attitude. Are they helping people? Are they in it for only the money? There's nothing wrong with you have to be in business for the money, but that can't be your only reason. It just cannot be. You have to serve people. And when you serve people and you provide a product, the money will just come after that. That's a long answer. Of course, capital is important, but by no means is it the most important, at least in my opinion.
All right. Well, I agree with you, and I really love what you would have said, because what we are seeing from research and from our interaction with business owners is that sometimes when you don't have the money, you want the money, and then when you get the money, you mismanage the money because you didn't have a solid game plan to implement your ideas in the first place. On this program, the High Net Worth Investors Guide, these are issues that we flesh out. And in terms of accessing capital, there's a number of things that we work with you to ensure that you understand. One, all financial instruments are not created equal. As a rising star in business, perhaps taking debt capital may not be the right financial instruments for you, as Paul might have pointed out earlier. Perhaps if you're able to do smart capital leveraging, that might be perhaps best for you because you're not subject to, interest repayment on that debt. Perhaps also accessing capital at 0% APR might be another option for you to look at. We know for a fact that in the Caribbean, the access to capital, which might be credit financing at 0% APR, is virtually out of the window. In the developed world, we know that many businesses have access to that. So these are things that we're going to be looking at. You see, as Paul would have pointed out, it's not just about saying I need access to capital. It's important for you to take the time to understand what are the best financial instruments for you. What we are doing here as a collective, we have built out this platform, the High Net Worth Investors Guide, to be served as a guide to ensure that you not only understand financial instruments, but to ensure that you understand how to access it. We are here to give you the support to access, to ensure that you understand how to leverage, because when you access and you mismanage, it becomes, a liability instead of an asset, and also how to mitigate that process. So access to capital is not the only factor that one needs to consider when you're getting into business and you want to position yourself for success. So I really love that point that you would have made, Paul Whitehouse. Great point. I want to come to Mr. Bagwandin, who I know he has been working for quite some time with the private sector, and I want you to give your view, your interpretation of what is holding businesses back, and what are those factors that are perhaps pushing businesses forward. I know, Joel, you may want to look at it perhaps also at the economic enablers that are there that perhaps can support or prevent businesses from going forward. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. So I first let me say that I agree with uh, Mr. Whitehouse's position, his view on that. So I'll speak from the Guyanese context. And the Guyanese context is multidimensional and very, very debatable positions. The position, for instance, of the organized private sector has always been the argument that access to capital is difficult. My argument, however, the fact that I've worked in the financial sector, I have an appreciation and a perspective on both sides of the coin. And the problem from my perspective is not really the difficulty in accessing capital. It is the how to access capital. Because we have excess liquidity in the banking sector. So it is not an instance where we don't have money in the system. We don't have liquidity. We have excess liquidity, you know. And now with what is happening in the economy, you have so many institutions that are competing. You have the IDB, you have the private sector arm of the World Bank, you have these investment funds from the UAE, all parts of the world, the US Exim Bank, Afrix Exim Bank. So many different sources of institutional capital are being made available. The real problem is, how do I access that capital? And that is where we need to focus on. And how do you need to access the capital? The basic thing of having a bankable business case, having a bankable project that is stress tested, that is tested, that could be interrogated, having a proper financial and economic model, having a proper study done, a feasibility study, those type of things have been lacking before oil. Before 15 years ago, 15, 16 years ago, we practice a lot of, historically, what I refer to as relationship banking, transactional banking, relationship banking, in the sense that the banks don't lend based on a business plan. Because even though that is the proper thing to do, they don't pressure the customers, pressure the clients to present the business plan, because that was something that was always lacking. So they do the business proposals themselves internally, they do their own assessments internally, and that is how they lend. And it's based on the relationship over the years, how well you service your loan, how well you repay, your credit worthiness is being assessed from your history of how you service your loan, your debt obligations. But now the largest loan, for example, that was underwritten in those days, 15 years ago, was $5 million US. That's the equivalent of $1 billion. That's big money then. Today, $5 million is nothing. Today, you have projects that are far larger, far more sophisticated, far more complex, that requires tens of millions, hundreds of millions. Like, for example, we have one of the largest private sector development taking place across the river today, which is north of 300 million US, and we have several other large projects. So the how to access the financing vis-a-vis a proper business plan, proper feasibility studies, a proper business case. And secondly, what we see happening here now, and it is being forced to some extent because of the changing landscape. It's a paradigm shift where we now have to. Maybe 2 decades ago, we didn't want to change our culture, but now we're forced to change our culture. We have a lot of family-owned businesses. If you want to really grow, you got to come out of that mindset. And not only the cultural mindset in terms of ownership structure or the structure of the business, the legal, how you want to, whether you want to go public, whether you want to get into partnerships to grow, but generally, the general culture of how we do business today, for example, the same case of business plans and advisory service. This whole platform, this whole discussion is based on some to a great extent advisory and advisory service. The local businesses, never used to want to value that. They never invested, see the value in paying for advice or paying for consulting services or investing in research and development and those type of stuff. But now they're becoming increasingly more appreciative of the fact that advice they are paying for the service now. They're getting closer there too because they understand that they need some external help to help them to put together their business plan. They need some external help to maybe look at the same thing that they can't. That internally they don't. They want a different perspective because of the complexities of the environment we're operating today, the dynamism of the environment we're operating today. So this industry, this emerging industry here in the Guyanese context is going to grow, and the shift in the culture to make that happen is taking place rather slowly but surely. So that is where we have to. Those are the dynamics and the factors that we have to understand.
Joel, I do believe that you raised some very valid points, however, very broad. And I just want to touch base on a couple of things that you would have mentioned. But just before I go there, Elmore, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Well, Elmore, just let me give him a short introduction. He is a specialist in the cryptocurrency world, the Bitcoin, and he's the guy that will talk a lot about safe ways to store your money and keep your money. And he is now about to release a book in relation to his platform. But Elmore, I'll come right back to you shortly. Yeah, Joel, you did raise a number of strong points. And the issue of business fundability is one of the great points that you would have raised. And of course, you look at it from a Guyana perspective, perhaps a broader Caribbean diaspora perspective. And I do believe that part of the fundability factor for business might be historical data. And one of the disadvantages that we see is that many rising stars in business, they don't have that historical financial record. So immediately that puts you at a disadvantage in terms of accessing debt financing. From a Caribbean perspective, there are some limitation in that regards. When I look at financing from an international perspective, we can start as low as trade lines. And with trade lines, regardless of your fundability, we are able to get you access to vendor credit, to store credit, and then move you all up to cash credit. Now, the pre-qualifications for vendor credit and store credit is almost zilch. You mentioned the term credit worthiness. In the developed world, we talk about your credit score. And with a healthy credit score, with a strong SSN, within less than an hour, you're able to get certain type of vendor and store credit that when you understand what you're doing, you can leverage that. before fundability issue comes up, to start turning over as a way of creating the historical track record, building up your credit worthiness, and then you move over into additional funding. Of course, looking at financing from developed world and the middle income and developing economy, it's like night and day. Of course, part of what we will be talking about, Joel, is ways in which, and also with Paul, because Paul is a financial expert and he is able to what we do is help businesses to access capital. And we know that Guyana is on a fast track for development right now, with oil and gas being a major transformational project. And what we want to do is to discuss some of these issues and to also see what we can do to help the local Guyanese Caribbean businesses to access alternative funding so as to help in their acceleration process. Because we are seeing as a new startup that don't have the historical data going to the traditional financial institution, there may be some barrier based on the facts that you would have pointed out. So do we start to look at equity financing? Do we start to look at creative financing? Do we start to go ahead, Joel.
In addition to those points, right? The other major issues that we have with businesses here, particularly startups and let's say small businesses, is management. They need a lot of training in management. And again, it comes back to mindset. For example, you have a sole trader business, and the mindset of a sole trader is he wants to learn to do everything himself, which is good. It's good to know a little bit of accounting, a little bit of of everything, every other aspect of managing the business.
I disagree.
Right?
Respectfully disagree.
No. Hear me out. No, hear me out.
Yeah.
Hear me out. At the beginning, that is important. That is important to build. But the moment you start to grow, he still wants to hold on. He still looks at maybe $1,000 to pay an accountant because he thinks he can do it himself. Why do I pay an accountant when I can do it myself and save $1,000 a month? Instead of thinking, okay, let me hire an accountant so that now that the business is sustainable, there is income coming in, we can pay the bills. Now it's time for me to take the business to the next level. So let me staff the business properly and the organization properly, build out the structure, put proper systems in place, invest in the resources, and then focus on building at a strategic level. That's a limitation that we find that we have here with a lot of sole traders. That is why they remain sole traders forever. So to grow out of that, there's a lot of work to help to grow businesses in that regard. Right? Then there's a lot of issues of mismanagement of financial resources too. For example, they go to the bank, they have a short-term financing instrument, working capital financing instrument, which is the traditional tool in overdraft. And instead of using the overdraft to finance your working capital, replenish your inventory, pay your bills until you collect your money from your receivables, they take it and they buy other personal effects, personal items, buy sometimes assets, wherein you should be taking a loan or other long-term financing instrument to finance acquisition of assets, major assets. So those are some of the other issues that we have with businesses here that inhibit their growth and development.
Well, Joel, you're perfectly correct. I do believe that you're right from the perspective that business owners, especially as rising star, it's important to recognize that the structure of an organization can be broken out into 3 dimensions, which we call the strategic, tactical, and operational. And what you see happen is that as a rising star in business, you tend to function at all 3 levels, which is practically impossible. You do that, by default, the business will fail. So you're perfectly correct in terms of what you're saying. And myself and Paul, we talk a lot about this. And that is why we are saying before we bring that business to that point to say, hey, we're going to give you access to capital, We want to ensure that your organization chart is in place, your management structure, they're in place. And we possibly want to come on board with you to ensure that we're giving you that mentorship, that guidance, that support to ensure that one, our investment with you is safeguarded, and two, that we give you the support to ensure that you are able to grow and expand the vision in the right way. We'll go deeper into that as time progress, but that's a good point. I want to come to Frank. Frank, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Frank, I know Joel Badminton mentioned on management skills, leadership skills, as an essential part of the day-to-day management of a company. I know that you are John Maxwell specialist. I know that you have lectured in the field of business. You're an economist. What are your take on what is being said? Because at the end of the day, while we're going to highlight the problems, we are going to highlight the solutions. One of the solutions that I want to emphasize here, businesses in the United States of America, if you need access to capital, that is not a problem. We are able to put you in contact with the people that will help you to access various type of financial instruments. So that's not a challenge. But long before you get there, we want to be certain that you are ready for funding. As John would have pointed out early on, you have to reach the fundability factors. Perhaps if you're not that type of business that want that type of big funding, we can work with you on perhaps what we call trade lines and vendor credit, store credit, and then move you all the way up to business funding. But Frank, what are your thoughts on what Joel would have said early on in terms of the soft skill, the management skills to move that vision forward?
Joel made a very good point, very important point there. What I have taught most of my students, the kind of leader that you are in a business, and as you know, business is someone who will motivate you, any group of people in order to achieve a common goal in a company. It doesn't matter what the company is. It could be the 4,500 co-founder of a giant company. It can be Salesforce, General Motors, whatever. One of the things I want to leave is that there are basically 5 qualities that leaders must possess. And the first one, I think, is curiosity. To be a great leader, you must remain curious at all stages of the business, always seeking out new ideas, innovative tactics. You do that in the hopes of continuously improving your business. Now, this curiosity and willingness to try new things can have a trickle-down effect on company culture, because the best leaders are the ones who are going to encourage the team members to be ever inquiring and inventive as well. And so we must be curious as leaders. The other thing is that assess yourself, self-assessments. Any successful business leader occasionally will pause to survey their strengths and, more importantly, the weaknesses. So a good leader will examine the vulnerabilities and shortcomings. Doing so makes their team, that team that they're leading, that is going to be stronger. It allows them to delegate tasks to team members who have the abilities that they as leaders act. And coming back to the point that Joel raised, not because you are the sole trader. Now, when the business starts growing and you're looking to save a couple dollars, you decide, I'm going to do all the accounting. It would be more effective if you hire a professional accountant to do that aspect of the business, right? It allows your team, it allows your business to expand and grow. The thing about it is that with the professional accountant, he probably would bring in new ideas that you, as a businessman, doesn't have. This is going to stretch business. And one of the things that you must realize also, the successful leaders will also identify whatever the weaknesses that they have so they can improve upon those areas for the future of the business. Communication is a good aspect too. Any successful leader requires open communication with the rest of the team. It means not only clearly articulating business goals and expectations of your teams, but also being responsive to what the needs of the group is. So if you have clear communication, which is important, especially if you have a decentralized workforce, which happens these days. We realize it's not uncommon, for leaders to be responsible for team members scattered everywhere, whether it's in Georgetown or Essequibo, Berbice, or even the Caribbean. But great leadership occasionally involves you laying down the law, but it more often requires what is considered emotional intelligence to detect those subtle wants and needs of a diverse and dispersed team. If you have strong teams, it means that you can forge through clear, effective communication from the top down. The best leader also will have settings and their goal settings. And excuse me, an essential aspect of good leadership is setting clear business goals for the company, for the team, and for himself. If you're a successful entrepreneur or business leader, you're more likely to motivate your team to do those necessary hard work, the necessary work that will see your company grow. You are more likely to motivate the team to do the hard work that is necessary to achieve the big picture goals. Another thing is risk-taking. For every business, we are risk-takers. Because the business world is so full of challenges, and as an effective business, the leadership entails knowing when to take risks in order to solve problems. And a true leader is willing to try unconventional or risky strategies in order to boost performance or achieve goals. Now, risk-taking is not the same as recklessness. However, anyone in a leadership role should be collecting data and running scenarios in order to inform that decision making, even when it's risky.
Wow, that was a lot that was said, but I do love it.
Yeah.
Anyone want to chime in on what Frank would have said before I come over to Elmore?
Can I add
Paul?
one thing, please, Gary?
Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Really, just the whole overview of what I've heard from Joel and Claremont and you is you're hitting the nail right on the head. When you start in business, you do have to do most of it yourself. The ideal way to start is if you're fully funded in any manner, whether it's institutional funding or you just have the money, and you come in and you set up all the teams. You've got an accountant, you've got somebody doing your content, you've got somebody doing this. That's the ideal way to do it, and that is what we should all move towards very quickly, as quickly as we can. And over the last year, I became friends with a business coach. I knew what business coaching was, but I knew it was important, but I never took the time to learn about it. And what I learned from this particular business coach was everything that you guys just said. Delegate, put people in positions. It's better to have somebody doing the accounting so you can focus not 40, but 40 to 80 hours that you're putting in every week on creating new tactics, new strategies, building the team, new ideas, everything that you need to do other than accounting, because accounting is mundane. Somebody else should be doing that. There's more to say on it, but I just want to say you guys are, I'm loving this. I'm soaking it in, and I certainly agree with it. And you guys are outstanding. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that share, Paul. Now I'm going to come to Elmore, and after Elmore, I'm just going to open up the floor. So anyone you feel free to chime in at any point of the conversation after I hear from Elmore. Elmore, can you tell us about yourself? What inspired you to get into the cryptocurrency space? I know that you have some very unorthodox concepts in terms of what is fiat currency and what the modern day currency should be, the risk associated with fiat, and so forth. Can you introduce yourself? Talk to us a little bit about your brand, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Everybody hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you. So yes, well, my name is Elmore Irizarry Lopez. I come from a small town from Puerto Rico, the island, and it's been quite the upbringing for me because I come from a farming background, with coffee farms in the island and things of that sort, and watching the whole entire industry kind of fall apart in its face all towards the beginnings of
Elmore, can you project just a little bit? I'm hearing you, but some of your words are cutting. Can you just project a little more?
Let's see. Can you hear me better now?
Got you.
Better? All right.
Better.
So yes. So I'll start over. Name is Elmore Irizarry Lopez from a small country in Puerto Rico. A small town called Yauco. It's essentially called the coffee town. So it's a very big area where there's many areas that used to grow a lot of coffee. But watching that industry go over and watching the whole entire economic balance as a very small kid, just in my teenage years coming from the 2000 and watching and not really understanding, but watching what it was back then, the internet boom and seeing how all of these industries were taking effect to the new economic environment. And then we have this big deal where I'm already out of high school and I'm really trying to understand and grasp what is money. Because when you're in high school, and I guess most of us kind of had this as a upbringing, you're trying to figure out what is money and how you can make as much as possible without doing anything out of balance. And having that thought in the back of my head, um, it just started to get me around the fact that I wanted to understand what money was and where money came from. Once I started to figure that out and started to figure out how the United States dollars were printed and how the history of money goes all the way back to a couple of hundred years back, I started to understand more and more that every fiat currency system, which is a monetary system based on debt, instead of being backed by anything tangible like gold or silver, you tend to have some sort of discrepancies when it comes down with decision making from the top to the bottom. And so, therefore, the individuals that are unfortunately at disparity because their voice is not enoughly loud for them to be heard, and you have all of these other things in place that make the economy work, that are factors into getting the whole entire fiduciary note to stay alive and to be able to keep inflation under control and to be able to keep unemployment at good levels, to be able to make the whole entire thing balance. Once I started to understand that fact of economy and how money actually worked, it started to really dig into how is that every other civilization prior that had a fiduciary note has pretty much gone bust sooner or later. How is the cryptocurrency different, and why is cryptocurrency something that computer scientists have been nudging towards for since the 70s and been kind of just gotten it talking about how this would fix so many of the problems when it comes to inflation and having these issues with the M2 money supply and the speed of it, and then unemployment and all of the factors that make a fiduciary note work in the marketplace. Besides the fact that the government is giving the faith to the people that this is not going to go bust and that you can trust the one-to-one trade, and especially now being the one currency in the world that remains to be the reserve currency of the world, and kind of watching it before our very eyes right now kind of go through a change of power. It's something that really abruptly brought me over to really engage into what's going on, what is coming new, how many of the changes are we going through. And so there goes the beginning of 2008, where there was this little conversation being around, and I remember being in my early 20s, and I started to have this Bitcoin. But at the level that I was listening to this,
Yes, sir.
it was a. Can you hear me? Yes,
Yeah, I'm hearing
perfect.
you. Go ahead.
So at the level that I was listening to this, it was at a sort of conspiracy level when I first heard of Bitcoin, and I was like really interested in learning more, because it didn't make sense that we have a currency in place, but then these conversations about digital currency was taking place about Bitcoin. And that's kind of what got me going in that direction. And it really forced me to kind of become very open-minded into the fact that the Bitcoin idea is not an idea that it's just happened in 2008. It's an idea that it has been under development, and through various computer engineerings that were trying to bring this up to market in the early 80s, and then they tried to do it in the 90s, and it didn't really work out. And obviously we had the 2000s to where it seemed like the technology was there, but the adoption was not.
Elmore?
Yes,
Yeah, you're not on screen.
something happened to my camera. Let's see here.
Hmm.
Let's see. Because I just heard my computer just kind of went off. Maybe overheated or something. But just to kind of keep
But
the thought
Elmore,
going.
just let me, Elmore, just to help the audience to follow you a little more, because the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market, it may be a little advanced depending on your audience across the world. To the U.S. market, yes, you find a percentage of the market will understand this, but you find in developing middle income economy, there's still a lot of groundwork that has to be done to uh, filter down the importance of cryptocurrency and the Bitcoin, analyze the risk associated with it and how to mitigate those risks. But from your vantage point, how do you see the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space providing a safety net for businesses? Because I know that one of your arguments is that because the fiat currency is not backed by silver nor gold, it rapidly depreciates, and that is factual. But when it comes to the alternative, your alternative is the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency. What are the safeguards? What would you say are the safeguards to investors and business owners to trade in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency space?
The safeguards would be the main
Safeguards,
one.
yes.
The safeguard, the
Mm,
main one, is sovereignty over your funds. So
okay.
as everything is developing moving forward with the ISO 222 that is just implemented at the beginning of this year, and then having the IMF kind of just going around providing individuals, for the retinal scan, a little bit of money, so that they can start to work on getting the world currency in digital form, which is exactly what they're working on. All of these factors kind of just hints you that you might want to definitely understand not just the cryptocurrency space in total, but you definitely want to understand how to safeguard whatever you have worked for. because if we look at places like Lebanon and go to Nandito, please. Ver, Nandito, vete. And so if you look at these places and the things that are happening, like Lebanon, that pretty much everyone lost all of their life savings overnight because the central bank just kindly just closed the doors, and they're switching over. But understanding just the fact that we are, as a whole entire world, switching over from the regular monetary system that we understand of today, whichever ones those are, we're going all over to digital because the SWIFT system, which is the messaging system and that makes the whole entire banking system work in the world, is switched over to the blockchain with ISO 222. And so there's a strategical partners in the cryptocurrency space that allow for this to happen. Once you know who those are, you kind of get a better sense of maybe I want to position myself here to take advantage of that moment when it does happen in the very near future now. But the fact that this is happening and people
Good.
will
Got
most
you.
likely control anyone know that.
Yeah. I know that you have so much to say on this subject matter, and what I will do, we will create some special platforms to do a deep dive into this. Some of the things that I would love us to talk about is some issues relating to Sam Bankman-Fried. He was the the the, the poster boy for the, the cryptocurrency space, FTX, and we know that in recent times, he has been found guilty of a whole host of different things. I think 7 charges has been thrown at him. Billions of dollars have gone down the drain there. Myself and Peter, we have this conversation too, which is the safest place to store your wealth. I mean, so we'll go into those kind of conversation. For us, I like what I call performing assets. It's tangible, it's scalable, it's transferable. So we'll go deeper into those things. But I know that you're very passionate about what is happening in the cryptocurrency space, and of course, we have seen in China they have gone into digital currency. We have seen in some element of the United States of America, there are elements of that is currently being played out, and we want to look at the safeguard of all of them. So it's a lot to talk about there, and we'll come back to you shortly. But Jillian, I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit more about your brand that yourself and husband is working on, and just to help the public to understand how your brand can help them in their personal life, in their professional lives, and to make impact in the corporate world.
Well, we, in a sense, assist in bringing order to chaos, if that makes any sense. There are individuals, as I said before, that they know that they have to do something, or maybe they need to get the message out there. They need to, they're passionate about whatever it is that they're doing, but they don't have the know-how in how to connect or how to go about doing whatever it is that they do. And so that's where Peter and I come in. We assist them in connecting. So we're kind of like, if I may use this term loosely, the middle person, the connectors. We connect the individuals to the people that they need to be connected to, and we ourselves help them to bring forth their message.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else, Jillian, or that's it?
At this time, I think that's it for now. I mean, is there anything else that you'd wish me to elaborate on?
No, I love what you're saying. I think that as you talk about connecting, I talk with Peter, your husband, a lot, and I know you put a lot of emphasis on helping people to connect with themselves,
Yes, yes.
because in his views, once you connect with yourself and you understand who you are, you're better able to function in society and to function in every aspect of life. It begins with your sense of self, your sense of purpose, and that sense of direction. I know we talk a lot about that. So I'm really
Right.
happy that you guys have built out a brand, that is so essential to sustainable human development. So thanks for that contribution.
And if I may
Paul,
add,
mm,
Gary, if I may
mm,
interject just a bit, I love what Mr. Claremont said. Please correct me if I pronounce your name wrong. Is it Claremont? Right, that one must have a goal for themselves, for their business, and for the team. I believe that the very first thing that one must do is to have a goal for themselves. Because without the goal for one's self, they're not able now to make a goal for the team or even make a goal for the business. Because if that individual hasn't a clue where they're going, well, how would they know where the business is going or where their team is going? So I concur 100% on what you said. And essentially, Gary, that is what my husband and I do. We help individuals to create that goal for themselves so that they can create it for their business, so that they can create it for the teams that they have within their business, within their network.
awesome. All right. Love that share, Jillian. Thanks for that share. Paul, Joel, Frank, what are your thoughts? I mean, let's have some open conversation. Share your thoughts on what is being said. Um, Joel, I can see that you're just. Oh, Paul, you open your mic first. Go ahead, Paul.
I just want to say I completely agree. You know how you know things, but it's good to be reminded of them? I know a lot of
Hmm.
these things, but hearing them again is inspiring to me and it's helping me personally right now. And when I mentioned business coach earlier, I'm not, you guys, what you're doing is not business coaching, but it's in the field such as you're taking them, the high net worth investors guide and Jillian, the My Legacy Project.net, people go to that. You are giving the people the information, walking them through it, helping them avoid the pitfalls
Mhm.
that they might not even know about, because
That's right.
pitfalls are out there.
Oh yeah.
And if you, I liken it to this: if you're going grizzly bear hunting, you should get a guide. You don't just get your stuff and go into the Alaska and go try to find one. No, people hire guides. So that's kind of what I'm getting from this. And I appreciate what you guys are putting together. This is incredible stuff that's going to help people get to where they want much quicker, much smoother, and better.
Thanks, Paul. Joel.
Yeah, no, I don't want to add or take away anything that was said. I think this is an excellent merger or synergy being formed with professionals, with different expertise, different experience, coming together to help solve a problem or to bring solutions to the table. And in so doing, you monetize that process, uh, focusing on this part of the world, this Caribbean region, Guyana.
All right. Thanks for that share, Joel. Frank.
Yeah, I'm so proud of being a part of this esteemed team, I should say. One of the things I want to also pinpoint is what makes a business successful. I'm not going to go into all the entire lecture of that, but the first thing I think about is that we need to focus on the customer's experience. The second is you must have not just a business idea, but a powerful one. A business idea that when you bring it to whoever you bring it to, they must take a step back and say, wow, I've never seen it this way. Um, the other thing is offering some value to your target audience. Who the people are you targeting in your business? You need to be flexible and also quick to adapt. We live in a world that is changing and changing very fast. And if as a business we left back, we indeed is going to be left back. We need to make bold decisions, create ways to solve problems effectively. We need to pay attention. And that's one of the things I usually say to my students. Pay attention to what is happening around you. And don't always be in the office. You want to make it a business, don't stick around in the office. That's not the important. Go out and see what's happening to your business. Get out there.
Get the feet wet.
Right? Get out and go around and see what's happening. Yeah, that's my thing.
All right. Thanks for that share, guys. I just want to remind the public that the High Net Worth Investors Guide is not just about the information sharing. It's not just about the discussion. We are here to provide tangible support to businesses across the world. Now, if you're a business and you are operating in the US, we are able to get you access to various type of financial instruments, meaning debt, equity, credit, creative financing, hard money lending. Some of these funders, we may be able to get them to you within 24 hours and work with you and give you that support to scale it up into larger financial instruments. And all you need to do is to reach out to us. We have 3 companies that are sponsoring today's program. One you can see on screen, which is Global Capital Inc. We also have Pitch Deck 101 LLC. If you go to pitchdeck-101.com, that's one website that will help you to learn more about what we are doing. You also have, I want to encourage you to also go to the bestseller portal, bestsellerportal.org, and to also learn some of what we are doing. Now, in working with us in terms of accessing capital, we help you to understand various types of financial instruments, and we work with you to identify which is best for you, depending on the stage of your business. We also help you to access those capital. We work with you to help you to understand how to leverage those capital, because very often we see that there's a major challenge between knowing what you want to do and doing what you need to do to optimize your business cash flow. So we come in as the subject matter experts to give you that support to make the best decision possible. And of course, we help you with debt mitigation. One of the things that we talk about is that when you buy a debt, we call that your principal balance. But your principal is subject to interest, and your interest over the life cycle of the debt and the cost of capital, it may double over that debt life cycle. When you understand how to mitigate debt, you're now able to reduce the cost of capital and have better control over the cost that you're paying for the capital that you need to invest to grow and scale your business. And that's why we have people like Paul here, people like Joel, people like Frank, and all the other team members that we have here to give you the insight, to give you the guide, to give you the tools, the processes, and the system that will really help you to win in business. So again, just to emphasize, access to capital should not be a problem, because we are here to give you that support. But of course, our focus is not just on getting you capital. We want to protect the interests of our financial partners, because when we bring, let us say, equity financing to you, where's the equity financing coming from? It is coming from SWF, which might be sovereign wealth funds. It's coming from pension funds, insurance funds. It's coming from high net worth individuals. It's coming from various sources. And we want to ensure that we are giving you, the beneficiary, the support to ensure that when you get those funding, it is spent the right way. And we give you that support to scale. So in working with us from the High Network Investors Guide and our team players, you will be having full access to a broad business ecosystem that will help you to make the smartest decision possible. I love the program that Jillian and Peter is working on, because one of the things I emphasize, people can never grow beyond their sense of self. You see, I can put $1 billion or $1 million in your hand. If you got a poor sense of self, you're going to mismanage that. What Jillian and Peter is going to do is to strengthen that sense of self, all right, by helping you to develop your personal life master plan. And in developing your personal master plan, they show you how to start thinking in a broader way, in a richer way, to see yourself as being, able to achieve great things. And they came from a very strong religious background, and I'm happy to have them as a team member on board. We also have Elmore, a strong player in the cryptocurrency space. I know there is so much that we can learn from Elmore in terms of what is cryptocurrency, what is Bitcoin, what are the advantages, how do you protect yourself in terms of the rapid, value in the traditional currency. In fact, it is not, I don't think it's in the truest of sense is referred to as a currency. But Elmore is a skilled man in that area, and as time progresses, we will do some specialized program with Elmore to do a deep dive into what the cryptocurrency space is, so we can start to educate people across the world of what is the realities on the ground, what is the foreseeable future, and when it comes to money management, and what are some best tools to start to prepare yourself for. With that being said, I know that we are just over the hour. We have agreed to host the program for today. I want to also emphasize to the public, this is going to be a weekly program. Every Saturday we will have this program, God's Will. And we have a number of big events that are coming up. Next week, we are going to be giving away some free offers. If you're a business owner, we are going to give you support to get your business prepared for funding. We're going to give you support for mentorship and coaching. So I want to encourage you to keep following this program. Share this program within your community. If you know someone is in business and they need support to grow and to scale, they need to integrate their business in North America, in the developed world, we can give you that support. We help businesses to set up themselves properly in the US. We work with you to ensure that you have a FICO score. You can't function in the US if you don't have a FICO score. We work with you to elevate that FICO into a PAYDEX score. And we really work with you to fully integrate that business into the market. So if you're a rising star in business and you want to grow and expand across the world, I encourage you to DM me, send us your details, and we will be happy to have that conversation with you. Now, I want to now open up the floor for everyone to give their closing remarks. But even before you do so, I want to say You know, we have so much a dynamic person today on stage. Paul, you're a financial expert. You really ensure that businesses get access to funding, and that's a critical part of doing business. So again, we are not here for the talk or for the visibility. We are here to ensure that we are able to provide real support to businesses. We can help you access, you know, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and millions of dollars, US dollars, to grow and scale your business. We also have Joel. He is a subject matter expert in his field. He has spent quite a number of years in the banking sector, and he is a freelance journalist, and he has multiple companies behind his name. Frank Elmore and Joel, Jillian. So I want to ask each and every one of you to just give your closing remarks. In your closing remarks, you tell us again a little bit about what you're doing, and share on the topic of discussion today. Um, I'm going to start with Frank, and then we're going to come around. You're mute, Frank.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Um, in the close, I want to say that once you're getting into business, the first thing I think one must have is integrity. It goes a far way, but your integrity counts. Your accountability counts. Showing empathy, be humble, have a vision, have influence, and make sure that your business or organization have a goal or direction in which it's following. That's my takeaway from this app. You're blocked, Gary. You're on mute.
All right. Thanks again, Frank, for that share. Elmore?
Yes, no, I mean, it was unbelievable.
I can't
Everything
hear
else.
you, Elmore.
Can you hear me now?
No, you're very low.
How about now? How about now?
No.
How about now? Better?
A
Better?
little bit more. Raise the mic, yeah.
Yeah, there it is. All right, so closing remarks. Everything was outstanding. Everyone shared some really good, valuable points. Definitely right for the cryptocurrency space. There's many different places, spaces to be learned. There's many for many of you guys that are currently in this call. There's spaces that are under development in the cryptocurrency space as we speak. So this is very, very awesome. I cannot wait to get into the deep dive, and it's definitely a platform to be able to take advantage of all of the good things for businesses to be able to move forward, and obviously adopting emerging technology happens to be one of those, and that's what we're here for. And I'm really excited about this one. Thank you very much, Gary, for the platform.
Welcome anytime, my friend. Welcome. Jillian?
Yes. So as I said before, we empower others to create a life master plan. I just want to encourage each and every one of you that is watching today to stay empowered, stay focused and determined, and to always think outside the box.
That is brilliantly said. And I just want to emphasize this. You don't have a life if you don't have your personal life master plan. All right. You need to bring mastery to your life. And I say this with a lot of passion because I know that Jillian and Peter, they really care about people. And they believe that instead of people drifting through life, if they have their personal life master plan, they can set the stage to accomplish so much more. So their agenda is to provide the content of information to people that will help them to achieve so much more in life. And you need a personal life master plan. All right. Thanks again, Julian. Joel,
So thank you once again. The name is Joel Bagundin. I operate in the financial advisory space currently, and I think I want to commend Gary and team for putting this together, for coming up with this initiative. I think it is needed, especially in this part here, especially here in Canada now, based on what is to come, and what is being, what is taking place right now. The future is bright here in Guyana, save and except for some, geopolitical issues. But we're quite confident that our allies will back us strongly. Notwithstanding that, thank you again, and looking forward to working with you.
All right, thanks again, Joel. And Joel is perfectly correct. Guyana is now poised as one of the fastest growing country in the world. So everyone that is doing business, you need to definitely figure out how to be part of Guyana. What myself and Joel will be talking about a lot is steps that we can take to really help local to connect with FDIs, foreign direct investment, so they themselves can do more locally to further stimulate growth in Guyana. So thanks for that share, Joel. And Guyana definitely is on a fast pace uh, in terms of development. Paul Whitehouse. Well, we have the man at the moment here, Whitehouse. We have the whole White House here with us. Joel, Paul, I know we laugh about this, but that is such an awesome name. All to you. Can you give us your last share? Perhaps you can tell us some more about the financial instruments that you offer, and a little bit more about yourself. All to you, my friend.
Thank you, Gary. Well, I just wanted to say, wow. I knew this was going to be awesome and powerful, but it was 10 times more than what I expected. And please connect me with the ice cream
Because of your
White
presence,
House,
right?
not the real White House. No, because of you guys, not me. I just got to say, I'm thrilled. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this with you guys. Life Master Plan, that's where it begins. And as Jillian described, that is your personal, your family, and your corporate. Now, having that is going to take you to people like you, Gary, and you, Frank, and you, Joel, and you, Crypto, because what you get from that is everything that we've described. You've got a guide with the high net worth investors guide. If you got your life master plan together, you're going to know that you need the high net worth investors guide. And with that, what you get is safari guides. You're going grizzly bear hunting. You've got somebody who's going to point out the pitfalls. And here are some of the pitfalls. If you're talking about financing, specifically debt financing, every dollar saved on cost of money goes directly to your bottom line. And that's where you want it to go. You get more money if you save money on costs. If you get better terms from suppliers, you're making more money. I mean, it all coordinates to the bottom line. One of our taglines, which is exactly what you're talking about, is least expensive money first through progressive capital raising. I mean, yeah, saving money. Okay. And collaboration, not competition. I learned that a couple years ago from somebody, and I love it. If people really collaborated a lot more instead of viewed each other as competition, how much better would it be? We would all have more instead of people trying to get more than the next person. And then just real quickly, what we do is all of those things, and equipment financing, commercial investment property financing. Are we brokers? Yes. Does that make us bad? No, because we reject brokers. We go with consultants. If something's not good for you, we're not going to make $1 on you because we don't need to. We want to. Yeah, we want to do deals, but not at that expense. We're going to take you in the direction of helping you save money, creative financing. If we can't get it done, when somebody comes to me and I let them know that, you're buying a duplex, Depends on your credit score, depends on some things. We're not into that yet, but it could be as little as 20% down, or it could be 35% down. If when they tell Patriot Business Finance Consultants that I don't have that, and that is a chunk of money. You're buying $100,000 house, that's $20 or $35,000. Or if you're buying $1 million property, multiply that times 10. We take the position of being willing to step aside and say, well, guess what? If you got a little bit of money, you can literally approach that seller of that property and ask them for terms. We would rather help the person get what they want instead of say, oh, you don't have the down payment, call us when you do. We don't want to do that. We want to help them get what they want right now. And I know that's what all of you guys want to do also. So thank you for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of this, Gary. Sincerely, thank you very much.
All right, thanks for that share, Paul. And what I want to do is just unpack a little bit about what you just said and what you would have said early on. In terms of dealing with some of the financial instruments Paul is talking about, especially from a U.S. standpoint, they are pre-qualification to access the type of fundings on the international market. And in most cases, one of those pre-qualification is that you must have a 680 or above FICO score. In the case that Paul is discussing, there are some cases with a FICO score of about 360. They are still able to get you access to capital. So working with us gives you a tremendous competitive advantage, because while traditional financial agency will demand that you have 680, and it's tough for the majority of persons to have that 680 and maintain it. And without doing so, you're now going to be barred from access to capital. We can start you off at wherever you're at. And at the same time, we're going to help you to build your FICO score and quickly get you off of your FICO score into your PAYDEX score. I will unpack all of this as time progresses. So not only Americans, but also persons across the world perhaps can understand how the American economy operates. And if they want to do business in America, what are some of the things that you need to understand or ensure that you have a consultant on your side that understands how the American economy operates and how to use that to leverage to your advantage to grow and expand your businesses across the world. All right, so with that, we are now about to close off the program. But Peter, I believe that you are now here. Perhaps you can say a few words before we pull the curtain down on today's program.
Yes, certainly, Gary. Thank you so much for bringing together the high net worth individual team. And the high network is not out there. It starts right here. And I'm appreciative of the amount of work that you have been putting in over the
phone.
My wife is having her moment right there. All right. But what we're saying is that there is when we're able to, I like what Mr. Whitehouse said a while ago, it's about collaboration and not competition. Because what we find in the world today, it's like this constant dog eat dog kind of mentality, which robs us of our humanity. It robs us of the ability that we have to move each other further, faster. So with us coming together like this, it is a place where we now can pull in individuals, pull in the community. And I just want to say two things I want to just say about, Paul, that you hit the nail on the head concerning the master plan. And this is something that Gary and I have been talking about significantly, because without a sense of direction, and so our responsibility with our legacy project is to help people to build a legacy, to be able to look where they're coming from and to look where they are and where they're going, and to be able to see, to develop some sense of direction of where they want to go. And in bringing this team together, we're able to help each other to do that. But there's something that I also wanted to say, because I know that Elmer, where cryptocurrency is concerned, and the issue with cryptocurrency is that it has been seemed to be given a bad name. But what we find in the world today is that it's all cryptocurrency. It's digital currency now. Here in New York, they are cutting out cash. You can't go to the train station and give them cash and get a ticket. Everything now is being transported to digital currency. So I'm thankful that Elmer is here, because what he will be able to do is to guide us to make that switch safely. Because as it is moving so fast, if we leave our cash in the bank, what it will do is that, and it is moving so fast, especially in states like New York, is that they are now, it can become expired. So this team that we have here, I believe, that is a dynamic team of high net worth individuals. And as we empower individuals, as we empower the community to build their plans, to design their plans, and to take it from stage to stage, I'm saying, Gary, thank you for the work that you have done. And I believe that we're going to impact the community very well.
All right, thanks for that share, Peter. Peter, let's talk after this this broadcast. We have to schedule some meeting for Monday with one of the campus. So let's talk after this program. All right, with that, I want to thank each and every one of my dynamic co-moderators who would have participated in today's program, the High Net Worth Investors Guide. This is the first in a series of programs. Next week, what I want us to do, just before I come to next week, this being the first of this program, I really allow everyone to share their perspectives from different vantage points. Next week, what we want to do, we want to find a single topic, and I want us to drill down into those topics in terms of ensuring that we're talking business, we're seeing the problems associated with business, we're tabling the solution. So the vision is that everyone who is listening to this platform, while they're going to hear us identify those challenges, at the end, we will give them the solution. All right, and we will drill down into all of that for next week. So with that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. You have been an awesome team player, and we are looking forward to doing this with you again next week. All right. So with that, any last words you want to share before we close? But with Paul, anything else?
Just want to say thank you. Nice to meet you, Frank. Man, you're a legend. I never met you, but I already know you're a legend. Gary, I already knew you were a legend. Legends. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks again, my friend. So as you, right? All right, we'll do this again next week. Do have a great weekend ahead of you, and a week ahead of you until we meet again next week, Saturday at 2 p.m. EST. Goodbye, my friends. Take care.
Bye, everybody.